morning. Welcome to Get Real America. Let's see here. We're on Central Time today, but we're glad you're aboard. I'm Bill Edwards, and somewhere along the line...
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hey.
I'm really big today. It's weird. Thanks for joining us after this great Thanksgiving holiday. Did you have a good time, Bill?
It was wonderful. The weather was so-so, but it was Thanksgiving-ish. So that's even better. And it's even better that we had early voting, thanks to the Democrats who decided that they didn't care if you had Thanksgiving plans or anything for that nature for the people who had to work the polls. You were going to go there because they needed to stuff the ballot box.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised how many people voted in Chatham County. As of Saturday night, there was over 1,800 people that voted, and only the Board of Elections was open.
Right.
But it's kind of unfortunate that those people didn't get to spend the additional time with their families that work for the BOE. So a little unfortunate there, but did have a lot of people out voting.
You realize how much this is costing us? How much more it costs to do another day of voting? And they come up with these. This was against the Georgia law. Now they were saying it was some sort of option or something. No. Friday is a legal holiday after Thanksgiving in Georgia, so they say they won't have voting after a legal holiday. Consequently, they weren't going to have any voting on Saturday. We're going to do it on Sunday, which I don't think we should have either. I don't like this early voting. We have the Constitution calls for voting day, not for voting month or voting week. We're a week and a day away from the real election day tomorrow.
Yes.
And they come up with and so people have made travel plans, holiday plans for Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden some judge comes along and because he wears a black robe, he has some sort of a genuine, real extra authority, and slams down the gavel and says, "Oh, you're going to have Saturday voting." It's just pathetic. All these people probably had to cancel a lot of plans or delayed plans or whatever, so they had to work the polls on Saturday, and then of course they had to work on Sunday anyway, so they at least knew that. But at the same time, giving them an extra day was just pathetic.
Yeah, and so far in the state of Georgia, we have had 181,643 people vote in Georgia, but in comparison, we're down 89% compared to the general election, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. 1.6 million people had already voted by this time for the general election.
And you realize how important this election is, that if we do not get an American in office like Herschel Walker, as opposed to Raphael Warnock, who represents the Democrat Party, then we're in real trouble.
Well, and it gives them the 51 versus the 50-50, which the 50-50 is not going to 100% get us some wins, but it will prevent a lot of things from going through, especially if we can swing Sinema and Manchin.
And there's a good possibility. I don't know if Joe Manchin is finally waking up and smelling the coffee, but boy, his ratings it dropped like a stone in free fall after he went along with this ridiculous plan that they had, where he was supposed to get some sort of a pipeline approved in his. Now you know how much the Democrats love pipelines, and they said, "You vote with us, and you'll get that pipeline." Then afterward, we had our fingers crossed. I'm sorry, you're not going to get the pipeline. We just don't have it in the budget. We've got how many trillions of dollars do we have in these budgets, and we don't have enough for his pipeline there, or the one that we should have been constructing along with the XL pipeline.
Well, I also think that there's $20 billion that they can't account for that was sent to Ukraine. I find that quite interesting. That's a story that broke over the weekend, which, it's not surprising. I think we all figured that there was going to be a lot of corruption, especially with the FTX story that came out, with them funneling money through that, and also it went to Democrats and Republicans also took money from FTX, which I didn't know if you knew that, but that also broke over the last week. And I just, the amount of corruption and the amount of money that they waste, and they basically keep saying, we're just going to keep spending and we're just going to keep taxing you. We really don't care.
But but they turn right around and say, boy, you oil companies are sure making a lot of extra money, but we're going to hold hearings again. How many times have we had hearings and had oil company CEOs have had to waste their time and your money and going up to Washington to answer questions from these left-wing cretins who don't have a clue as to how to spend money or make a budget. We haven't had a budget in almost 20 years, which is actually constitutionally required. So all these people ought to be impeached, and we ought to start over. But how many times have they brought up oil companies, saying that they're making all these record profits? They're making record profits because they're holding their money back, because they're not getting the drilling well permits that they should have. But now that Joe Biden, who couldn't be bothered to do anything over this past weekend except to go take on another vacation, has decided to go into a deal with Mr. Moderno down there in Venezuela to buy oil from him. So they've given Chevron permission to go drill for oil in Venezuela, which is oil that's a lot dirtier than what we have here. So it's going to take more to drill it, more to ship it, more to refine it. And this is supposed to be protecting the environment, or this is supposed to be helping our oil shortage problems. And we're talking about a diesel fuel shortage, which everything that you have on the grocery store shelf, everything that you see on the toy stores, everything that you see in the hardware stores, all comes from a truck that is delivered by diesel fuel, all comes from trains delivered by diesel fuel. And what's the story on this, on the railroad strike? Do you remember, Brittany, that Mr. Brilliant, who knew how to do everything, said that he had this railroad strike under control a few months ago? They made some big major deal, and all of a sudden now we're talking about a railroad strike. Where is that? Where is that coming from?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me, Bill. I think that they, I think before we went on, you actually had said the number one most searched word was gaslighting for 2022.
Merriam-Webster says that their word of the year is gaslighting.
Yeah, so I think that that's very telling, Bill, and I think that they've been gaslighting us for a very long time. I think that there's a lot more exposure to the things that they're doing now, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me, especially when you also look at some of the things that they said they weren't going to do, and they did it anyways. And they continue to just gaslight all of us. So,
yeah, this is gaslighting, the United States of gaslighting. So
that's where we're at. That is where we're at. And I think, I hate to say this, but people are 41% of people, I saw an article over the weekend, 41% of people could not pay their November rent bill. So what does that look like when we're headed into Christmas? We're continuing to see people put things on their credit cards that maybe they should be paying off instead of putting more debt out there. But Americans, we've had it good for a really long time.
They could call it their reduction. You put more on your credit card and you call it your debt reduction act.
Well, maybe, we could ask Warnock, like, where is that money that you said was going to help us with this anti-inflation?
Yeah.
We've yet to see it help us. So they're going to tell us that it takes 5 to 10 years, right, Bill? It's not instant, right? It does take time. But what is it going to look like next year? I don't think people have really thought about this. I think that they think, oh, we're going through a dip and then it's going to get better. It's not going to get better for a while. We're headed into some really interesting times that, I haven't experienced since I've been alive, and I don't know if you have, but I think it's going to get kind of scary out there.
It is pathetic, but our government, they do love long range studies because they don't have to show any immediate results.
Exactly.
So, and speaking of which, we have this affordable housing thing that we have here in Chatham County, and I always love the vague terms that they come up with in government. Affordable housing. What does that mean? Just like the Inflation Reduction Act. What does that mean? Obamacare. You had to learn how to speak Obamarese when he said, your medical bills won't go up one dime. No, they didn't. They went up several $1,000s. They didn't go up a dime. That's not a dime. So you have to learn how to speak their language. But they love these long-range studies because they don't have to show any immediate results. And here we have something they call affordable housing. Well, I'm living in a house that I can afford. Now, there's some in Savannah that I can't afford, so I'm not living there.
Well, and I think the problem with that, Bill, is that they have also, Savannah's gotten very expensive. So if you grew up here and it is more difficult to live in Savannah because of all of the money that's moved in.
Why? Yeah.
all the money that's moved in. I mean, you have people from New York, you have people from Pennsylvania, you have all these people that are, frantically escaping these Democratic hellholes and moving into a place like Savannah, and they drive up the prices. I mean, there's a lot of people that have, even the property taxes, once they go up, it's really hard for people to afford their homes. They're basically priced out. And so then what happens? So it's a huge issue. And the thing that I have a problem with too is that I feel like, the article that you're referring to is really just a cover for why city council hasn't done anything when that's what they were elected on. Most of those people were very pro affordable housing and they were going to do all these things, and they have not accomplished anything, Bill.
This city council is a train wreck.
You are not wrong.
It is absolutely disgusting. It said this is accomplished by using affordable housing within the development and relocation. So it's luxury apartments coming from the East President Street targeted to SCAD students. Okay, why is it targeted to SCAD students?
Because they can pay the high dollar amount.
Well, yeah, but it said city staff visited Atlanta to learn how this IZO program, and IZO is what's the definition here? It is some kind of a zoning ordinance of
it's
some sort.
Low income,
low income type stuff. They hired a consultant. Great. I'd like to be a consultant.
I was going to say, let's be consultants. I think we'd make a lot more money.
Yeah. A buddy of mine has always said, he said, I got a tomcat that's been neutered. Still, he still hangs around with the other tomcats, only now he's a consultant. But KB Advisory Group to provide a market-specific recommendation for the city. And the presentation was given on the 22nd. As a part of the consultant's recommendation, they said the IZO would only work in high demand areas for the city, and it could still stall the development of other areas implemented citywide. So we have these people who are supposed to be planning this stuff and don't know what they're doing. And I heard some story said we were waiting to get a city manager. We already have a city manager. We've had a city manager for almost a year. So I don't know what that story was all about.
Well, I think that's why they're saying there was a delay, is because they had to wait to get a city manager. He's only been here a year. So I think that there's a lot of excuses, Bill, which there normally is, especially when you're up for re-election. So I think that's pretty convenient that the story is breaking now. We still are in a runoff with Herschel Walker, but getting people to run and re-elect these people is a year away. Yeah. It's not a lot of time in the political realm.
So the long and the short of this thing, we got early voting going on this week in Georgia. The general election runoff election is 1 week from tomorrow for the official voting day. And I'm sure we probably already have voting, some sort of voting gathering or groups going around. I'm thinking that
some
canvassers. I think they were trying to figure out how to stuff the ballot box again. All right. Well, it was a great weekend, and we did some great celebrating for Thanksgiving, especially at the Coast Guard Air Station.
Yeah, and I think we are going to have some video of that along with.
I think you're correct.
Yes, yeah, along with. Also, what happened in Savannah over the holidays and how we kicked it off here, which I will say, if you haven't been to Savannah during the holidays, you are missing out, because I stopped in at Plant Riverside and it was super cute.
Pretty neat place. All that coming up next on Get Real America.
We'll be right back.
Education is so important. People have always talked about, what are we going to do? You're going to have school choice, you're going to have all different types of things. And I want to try to figure out, how can we get kids an education? It doesn't matter what zip code you're from, but get them the education they need, because education is an equalizer. And I truly, truly believe that. And that's the reason I'm here, just to see how this is working, what is going on, how you getting funding, and just what's happening. We put people in office that doesn't seem to care about this country anymore. And I said, if I can change it and I just sit back and do nothing, what kind of man will I be? But right now, I know I can change something.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities. Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And a happy Monday to you. We're a week and a day away from Election Day, as we were just talking about.
Yes, and we were also talking about the kickoff to the holiday season here in Savannah. And WTOC actually did a really great kickoff for this weekend. So they talk about the tree lighting, and I think we have a clip of that here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Thanks for joining us for the news at 7. I'm Max Deek. Night as Black Friday comes to a close, holiday festivities are now officially underway in Savannah. WTOC's Flint Snyder is live on Broughton Street. And Flint, it looks like the tree is all lit up there.
Yeah, good evening, Max. All lit up indeed. You know, the turkey has been eaten. The Black Friday holiday shopping rush is coming to a close, and now the Broughton Street Christmas tree is all lit up. Take a look. This was the moment just seconds ago when the tree was all lit up, signaling the start of the Christmas season in downtown Savannah. We had Savannah City officials, WTOC's very own Mike Sela, and even Santa Claus himself taking part in that lighting ceremony. Hundreds gather here this evening for musical and dance performances, and tonight's event also marked the start of Savannah Holidays, which is a collaboration between the City of Savannah, the Chamber of Commerce, and other city partners to host weekend holiday events throughout December right here on Broughton Street. That first weekend holiday event getting started next Saturday. Organizers hope that those events will help bring the city back together, which is during the first holiday season without widespread COVID restrictions. And of course, tonight, city officials in attendance, as mentioned, Savannah Mayor Van Johnson and city council members celebrated the reopening of Broughton Street, the very street that the tree was lit on, that was closed for quite some time due to construction, but has since reopened in recent days. The mayor encouraging others to support small businesses along Broughton Street and across the city of Savannah on Small Business Saturday and across the holiday season as well. So Max, you know, as the party winds down here, Broughton Street reopens, the holiday spirit sure to last throughout the season here. Reporting live in Savannah, Flint Snyder, WTOC News.
Well, I will say that I went and looked at the tree on Saturday, and it was magnificent.
Mm-hmm. I wish we had more of them. We used to have one in Forsyth Park. That was the official tree there by they call it a band shell. It's not. It's just a big stage with a canvas cover or something like that.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Some sort of polyester.
I love that.
Whatever.
I love that. I don't see that utilized very often.
Yeah, it's not utilized as much as it should. And we used to have a nice little fountain with lighting and that as well, but we couldn't keep the little miscreants out of it. Apparently, we don't know how to discipline or enforce laws in this town here along that line. So they took that out. So there's no fountain anymore.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, it's pathetic.
The things that change,
something nice, yeah. But a nice tree downtown, but I just wish we had more. I'd like to still have the one in Forsyth Park. I know it costs money, but then again, so does affordable housing.
Yes, it does. Well, and I believe construction begins downtown today on a project that they are working on to help with drainage. So they are digging up a lot of things right now, so just be on the lookout for that. Lots of noise.
Digging up a lot of things downtown for years now. I hope it's kind of like what Will Rogers used to say about New York. It'd be a nice place if they ever got it finished.
Right?
So it'll be nice if they ever get it finished.
We'll see how that goes.
You know, there's only so much you can do. I know we can do things to improve drainage, but there's only so much. If you get a lot of rain and it's high tide and we're below sea level anyway, there's no place for the water to go in the first place. So, but good on us for at least trying.
Yeah, well, I saw them digging I saw the remnants of them digging. They weren't working this weekend, but they had dug a significant trench in the curbside, so in the gutter. So they were kind of dropping it down, which I thought was interesting. So we'll see how the project ends up, but they are starting a lot of construction downtown. So just be aware of that, especially as you're walking around downtown enjoying everything for the holidays.
They weren't working this weekend? The Democrats didn't go to court and demand that they go start working on Saturday?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not for that, not for street stuff.
All right, well, okay.
No.
Well, there's that.
Yes.
Also want to congratulate Benedictine Cadets. They have advanced to the state semifinals. They're the defending state champions in Class 4A. They were winners this weekend by a 34-14 win over Stockbridge. And so they advance now to the state semifinals in high school football.
Oh, that's exciting.
Way to go.
I remember those days, and the energy when that happens is so fun. The school, I think, is also very empowered when they get to go to those events and be represented, and also when they win.
Yeah, and one of the things that also that the BC cadets were doing was kind of unusual. I got this note in the mailbox the other day from BC that they were I don't know if it was the senior class or just the cadets themselves were collecting money for Second Harvest food, collecting food for Second Harvest Food Bank. So they left a
Grocery bag.
a bag, one of those bags that's destroying the environment. Left it for us to put food in. And so my wife and I did that, and just about everybody on our street had food to collect for Second Harvest Food Bank. You know, they had their big shortage. We just did the story last week concerning their drive for Thanksgiving because shelves were pretty much empty at Second Harvest. And so they came and picked up, and so as they get ready for the Christmas season that is officially underway, it doesn't start the day after Labor Day, as American corporations are beginning to try to do that. And by the way, knock it off with the Christmas and July sales, will you?
I know that's your pet peeve,
Yeah,
Bill.
yeah,
I know
for
it's your
sure.
pet peeve. But you did a lot of volunteering this weekend, and you were able to talk to some people. So tell us a little bit about that, and let's look at that video.
Well, we had the Savannah Navy League had its annual Thanksgiving dinner for the Coast Guard Air Station. As you know, we have a lot of military personnel here, and they are stationed here. They can't go home for the holidays, and so we try to bring a little bit of the holidays to them. Out at the Coast Guard Pavilion Air Station at the Hunter Army Airfield on Thursday. And first of all, talked with Chaplain Captain Tom Nichols, United States Navy retired, who was also president of the Navy League. And Tom, what's this all about? Tom Nichols, president of the Navy League, and once again come on in, very successful. Want to have you on too. A very successful Thanksgiving meal for our Coast Guard Air Station here, Tom.
Yeah, Bill, this is something we've done for a number of years. We missed 1 year with COVID, but we've been doing it for years, and we have numerous individuals and companies that provide all the food that you see here and all the desserts. And then, of course, we have so many of our Navy League members from our local council who come out and put everything together and make this such a great day. And what a great opportunity for us to be with these service members and their families who can't be with their families who live farther away on this day.
Yeah, that's the great thing I think about, that they're stationed here, and you don't want to, you got to give them a little taste of home.
Yeah, I think, and what you just saw, I mentioned a few moments ago, the mother and father of one of the folks, stationed here. But this is their third year to also come and be a part of this family gathering that we do here in Savannah.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this, and I know that the Coast Guardsmen and all certainly do appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate them, and that's what we are. We are citizens in support of our sea services and their families.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
Chaplain Captain Tom Nichols, retired Navy and also president of the Navy League here. If you'd like to be a member of the Navy League, please come on and join us. It's open to anyone. You don't have to have prior service. There's no requirement. We simply support the maritime services, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Merchant Marines. And we also talked with one of the pilots from the Coast Guard Air Station, Lieutenant Junior Grade, Lieutenant JG as they sometimes refer to, Nathaniel Gallagher. What did I say Gabriel for? I don't.
Christmas.
Maybe I knew one. Maybe I knew a Gabriel once upon a time. But Nate Gallagher is one of the Coast Guard pilots. And he's one of these guys that goes out and no matter what the weather is, practically come out and rescue you if you get in trouble offshore or elsewhere in storms and things. Our Coast Guard does all these great rescues all the time. And this is one of the guys who's sitting up on left seat to come out and get you.
My name is Nathaniel Gallagher. I'm a pilot here with the Air Station Savannah with the Coast Guard.
And what's your rank?
So I'm currently a Lieutenant Junior Grade, but I have been selected for promotion, and I will be promoted December the 12th.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. Now,
Wonderful
understand you didn't
promotion.
start out here in the Coast Guard, though.
I did not. No, I was in the originally in the Army, Served about 9.5 years in the Army, where I flew UH-60 Blackhawks. And now I've switched over into the Coast Guard and been here in the Coast Guard another 3 years.
We're glad you're with us. How does that work exactly when you make a branch transfer like that?
So you have to apply for it through the Coast Guard. Kind of just started out talking with the Coast Guard recruiters, and you kind of have to get a release from the Army. And for the Army, like during the time that I transferred over, like they weren't letting anyone leave earlier than when their contract ended. So I had to wait until my contract fully ended, and then pretty much out processed from the Army, like out processed in the military completely, and then I was selected and came into the Coast Guard.
Where are you from originally, Lieutenant?
Originally from Pelham, Tennessee, a little town in the middle Tennessee area.
And what drew you to the armed forces? What made you want to come join the Army?
Well, I really always wanted to fly helicopters.
Yeah.
Since I was probably, I don't know, I think it was like 11, 12 years old, maybe younger. I kind of contributed back to, we were on a trip home from a grocery store or something with my family, and we got stopped by like a fire department, and they landed a medevac helicopter to pick up a patient like on the road, and like I got to see that. And like ever since then, I was like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be, a medevac helicopter pilot or a civilian medevac helicopter.
Seen combat?
In combat, or just back then I really just wanted to be a civilian. And so talking to the different pilots and stuff when I could, what I needed to do to be able to accomplish that goal. And they talked about, you have like 3,000, 2,000 flight hours of helicopter time, which is a lot of time in the air.
Yeah. And
they said pretty much the only way to do that is on, going in the military and becoming a helicopter pilot that way. So from that day on, that was pretty much my goal. And I wanted to go in and fly helicopters and I'd probably go into the military. I really liked the Coast Guard's mission, and I originally wanted to join the Coast Guard first. However, I talked to the Coast Guard recruiters before any of the other branches, and they said that it's a pretty hard shot to be able to become a helicopter pilot in the Coast Guard, like right from the start. You have to go usually serve like on a boat or something for a few years, or just do another time and then apply for flight school after that. But so I was like, but they said also that they also take direct commissioned aviators from other branches that come over and kind of fly helicopters as well. And so they said I could look at that option. So then I went and started talking to the other branches, and the Army had the direct commission warrant officer spot where you join the Army, go straight to basic training, warrant officer school, and then straight to flight school. And it was a guarantee to fly. So that's what I did, and that's what the plan was, to serve as much time in the Army that I needed to, and then come over to the Coast Guard eventually. Did
you see combat in the Army? Were you stationed over in Afghanistan?
I did. I went to Afghanistan for one tour. Did about 3.5. I did a 9-month deployment in Afghanistan, and I did a tour over there. And then after Afghanistan, came back and went over to South Korea. Lived 3 years in South Korea, 3.5 years.
Now, how's it different in the Coast Guard now? You're off rescuing people offshore or something like that, don't you? You go out on these missions all the time?
Yes, that's correct. We fly, 2 to 3 times a week, and it's a lot of training flights just so we can stay proficient and be able to, be ready to respond whenever we need it. We have a 24/7 crew that stays here at Savannah, and if there's somebody in distress, something goes on their boat's sinking, anything, boat's on fire, we'll get called out. They make a Mayday call on Channel 16, just like on the boat, and the Air Command Center gets the call, and then they will call and dispatch us to where we're going. And the jurisdiction that we cover all the way from like the North Carolina, South Carolina line, all the way down south to Cape Canaveral area down in Florida.
And I think it looks like you may want to make this a career.
I definitely want to make it a career, yes. I love flying, love staying in the military, love the military lifestyle. So yeah, definitely trying to plan to stay here for 20 years plus. And,
what do you want to say to young people out there that might be thinking about what they're going to do next?
Yeah, what I always try to tell people is that if you have a dream, you want to do something, definitely stick with that dream. Don't change your dream or your thoughts because some people say it might be too hard to do. There's always an option to be able to get you to do whatever you want to do and stick with your goals, stick with your dreams.
All right. Lieutenant, thank you for your service to our country.
Yes, sir.
And happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.
Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you.
Lieutenant J.G. Nathaniel Gallagher, who has been promoted to lieutenant, so that promotion ceremony is coming up in just a little less than 2 weeks. Congratulations to him. And as young as he looks now, imagine serving 9 years in the Army before that. He must have looked like he was in kindergarten.
I know. When we were watching it, I'm like, he looks so young. How has he done that much time in the military already?
They all do. And also the difference in the Coast Guard, when you show up in the Coast Guard helicopter, they're glad to see you.
Yeah.
As opposed when you show up in Apaches or something like that from the Army, the enemy ain't so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, coming up next, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and
we are going to see what is going on in Wyoming.
Oh, fun.
You know what? Wyoming's great. Wyoming's great.
Gorgeous state.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, they do some wonderful things over there. And we are going to show you something that they do military-wise as we keep the military file open here. I was totally oblivious to this museum. I'm sorry it's so far away, but it's now on the bucket list to see, and you're going to see why coming up.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
At Get Real America, we want to promote your business to our conservative audience.
Wasteful Washington spending is killing us with inflation and sky-high prices on groceries and gas. Senator Raphael Warnock voted to allow hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds to be squandered on a luxury resort in Florida, a New Jersey soccer stadium, a ski area in Iowa. Tell Senator Warnock to start voting against reckless spending to stop inflation. Georgia families need cheaper gas and food, not frivolous luxuries in other states.
I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
Out of all the people I've ever seen work with veterans, Herschel Walker has done more as an individual than anybody I've ever seen. I've walked with him in the bases, I've been with him in the hospitals, talking about mental health issues and how he had gotten help. You could see it kind of open the doors for a lot of people. When he leaves a base, it has an impact long after he's gone. He gives his all to veterans and active duty guys.
Let me tell you guys something. You know, every time I go out to speak, everybody want a sound bite. I'm going to give you a sound bite really quick. I'm sick and tired of people putting this country down. They want to ask me why I'm running. Let's be real. I'm sick and tired. You look at the economy, you look at the gas prices. You can't buy a grocery now. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for me to get out and fight. Because I'm going to tell you, I love to win. I said, put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to play. If you ever seen me play, I can play. Have you ever seen me fight, I can fight. No matter how hard they come, how hard I can fight. I'm sick and tired of this. Tell your friends to get out and vote. I'm not here to be a politician. I'm here to be a warrior. Protect this country, protect our citizens, and protect our kids. No weapon formed against me shall ever prosper. Boom! That's it, baby!
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America. Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And we're glad you're aboard here on this Monday morn.
Yes. It's a chilly morning here in Savannah. I will tell you, it was really warm one day, and then I don't know what's going on with the air pressure here, but keeps
It's
warming
Savannah.
up cold. That's true.
Don't like the weather? Stick around a few minutes, it'll change.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping we don't have any more rain. I know that we need it, but
We do.
it was a very rainy weekend.
Yeah, it was, but it kind of off and on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was steady all the time, but it was pretty nice. We had our daughter-in-law had like several hundred of her closest friends come to town for at least it seemed like it for Thanksgiving. They were up from Illinois and Florida and places like that, and really nice. One of the things that's so amusing is they were from like Rockford. I believe it's Rockford or Rockdale, Illinois, right outside of Chicago, which is very conservative. You go up to Chicago, most of the time, if you get once you get out of town, if you have your bulletproof vest, you can usually make it. You can when you get out to the outlying area, it's like in California.
Yep.
You go through California, we saw Trump signs all over the place in 2016 when we were out there on vacation. I was like, are we really in California? It's only in the heavy metropolitan areas where you've got all the communists.
Well, even like New York, like those poor people in upstate. Oh man.
Yeah.
They're very conservative, but they have New York City, and that just really controls what happens up there.
So I mean, it's Republican and Trump country right outside Chicago, but you wouldn't know it from what you saw from most of the media. So nice weekend, and these were great people. We got a chance to meet a lot of our family we'd never met before, and they were really enjoying Savannah despite the fact that there was inclement weather. One of the things they did, went out to the Crab Shack at Tybee, so they checked that off the bucket list. I hope they got to the Mighty 8th Air Force Museum. They're in the process of about a $10 million expansion program at the museum, and this place is really something. So don't miss it. You got friends coming to town. One of the things you need to take them to is the Mighty 8th Air Force Museum. Talk about our military history. And speaking of our military history, there's another great military museum that I was totally oblivious about, and it's a military vehicle museum. Laura Ingram on the Ingram Angle on Thursday night was doing a big Thanksgiving salute to all the great stories that she had and the great people that she talked to. There is a museum in Wyoming that celebrates military vehicles, but it does more than that. And I'm telling you, I'm putting this on the bucket list. One of the things that I love is supporting the Teton Raptor Center out there. I send a regular donation to the Teton Raptor Center. This is a wonderful group of people who fix up injured eagles and birds and things. And I found out about them about 10 or 12 years ago. There was an article in a magazine of this truck driver driving across Wyoming, and a gold eagle flew through his windshield.
Wow.
And he took them over to the Teton Raptor Center, and they fixed it up, got it back in the wild. And they do that all the time with these birds that come in with all sorts of injuries. And it is a great program. So that's on my bucket list, and it's near Yellowstone. So that's all. But now this is on the bucket list as well, to see this magnificent military vehicle museum that Laura told us about, and it's part of a Fox Nation series, but she did a little snippet of it on Thursday night, and this is going to blow you away. Take a look.
How on earth did you pull this off?
This was inspired by my wife and me wanting to celebrate a couple of our favorite values, the value of our veterans and the value of our freedom. This started just as a single purchase. I wanted to restore a Sherman tank and drive it in the Du Bois 4th of July parade. I didn't have any expectation of buying more vehicles.
How many vehicles are in this museum today?
Well, altogether I have 488. They're not all in the museum right now, but my collection is 488, almost entirely U.S. military vehicles.
The cost of doing something like this is prohibitive, most people would say. You were amazingly successful in business at St. Jude Medical and all the other endeavors. You were a lawyer, came from Buffalo, New York. I mean, you led a very interesting life. But just give us a ballpark of how much it costs to build this.
My wife and I have invested $100 million of our own money to make all this happen, and that tells you something about our commitment and passion and how valuable it is to honor and remember our veterans, as well as to honor and educate next generations on the history of American freedom. One reason our history is so important to us is the way it can inform our decisions that we're making today. A big lesson learned from World War II is we had a lot of disadvantages. We weren't ready to enter into World War II. The reason we were able to win as quickly as we did without losing more American lives is because of the domination of American manufacturing. The Germans had superior aircraft. They ran out of aircraft. We manufactured 300,000 aircraft during World War II. The Japanese had effective aircraft carriers. They ran out of aircraft carriers. We manufactured 140 aircraft carriers during World War II. When World War II broke out, we had about 400,000 Americans in uniform. We put 16 million Americans in uniform during World War II. We had to manufacture their uniforms, their boots, their gear, their small arms, their training facilities, the transportation form. We manufactured for 36 allies for equipment that we supplied under our Lend-Lease program. We absolutely crushed Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan because of our overwhelming superiority in manufacturing. And that difference manufacturing made in World War II, we no longer have that manufacturing capability. China does. It's a big national security issue for the United States, and the American public is generally asleep at the switch.
Yeah, they're completely oblivious to the fact that much of what we would need in any future conflict with China would be made in China.
We're creating awareness of that. This isn't just a question of American jobs. This is a question of American
survival.
Freedom. This is freedom. Our freedom is at stake.
Boy, he ain't bumping his gums. Now, imagine that this is the manufacturing. All right, did you hear what he said? That, you know, the Germans had better planes, but they were running out. The aircraft carriers that had good aircraft carriers were the Japanese. Well, we started sinking those, and they didn't have any way to manufacture. We manufactured 149 of them. We manufactured the what we call the Liberty ships here. These are the ones that were won by the Merchant Marines that took all the supplies over there. We couldn't have won the war without those. They made 88 of them here in Savannah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Great story, great book about that called The Swing Shift that was written by my high school German teacher. It's very good, just passed away just recently. And he wrote this great book about the building of the Liberty ships here. And it just an amazing effort that we couldn't do anymore. Had 400,000 people in uniform at the start of World War II. We had 16 million during World War II, and that means we had to, like you said, we had to manufacture all of that stuff. The boots, the socks, the shirts, the pants, the helmets, all the training facilities, the arms, and this was all hands on deck. I remember we carried, when I was in ROTC in high school, we had the M1 rifles from World War II, and you saw the standard names on many of them: Winchester and
Browning,
and Remington, things like that. But you also saw the name Bendix, RCA. General Electric. I mean, everybody was making these things, just like actually what we did with the CPAP machine, or the breathing machine, the ventilators. Yeah, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The ventilators when we had a real president. So everybody, it was all hands on deck for something like that. And Mom used to tell me about the supply shortage that they had here. You couldn't get certain. The butter was being rationed. Rubber was being rationed. Pennies made in those days, because copper was going to make ammunition. Pennies were made out of zinc. You might see these about 3 or 4 years to see these. They used to have, and they used to be in circulation still. These black pennies that were made of zinc. But we couldn't do that anymore. And we better wake up to the fact that that is a national security issue, and we have an administration right now that doesn't give a rat's rup about national security. All right, we'll be back to wrap it up here coming up next here on Get Real America on this Monday morning. Glad you're here.
Get in touch with us at info@grenewsmedia.com, or you can give us a call at 912-376-9295.
Well, what's at stake for me is I want the Georgia people to have a voice in Washington. I think in less than 2 years, they haven't had a voice. Senator Warnock has done everything for Joe Biden and not for the Georgia people. I think people see that in his voting. You know, he's voted for this open border. He hadn't said anything about it. You see the way the economy is right now. You see men and women's sports. He's voted for things like that. Crime on the streets, and this is less than 2 years. That meaning that people of Georgia hadn't had a voice. Right now, I speak for the Georgia people, and I will always speak for the Georgia people. That's the reason I decided to run. I tell everyone I'm not a politician, never look like one, never act like one. But right now, what Senator Warnock has done to the Georgia people is not correct. The Georgia people are much better than the way he's represented us in Washington.
I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
I admired Herschel from the beginning. Herschel has always been challenged about doing things that people thought he wasn't capable of doing. He wants to be the best, and he has striven to do that, disciplined himself to do that, falls sometimes along the way, but he gets back up, and with his incredible drive and self-discipline, he has achieved mighty things. He's a real patriot of this country. He loves the United States of America. He also is realistic that it can be better. He is not a, quote, politician. There is a need in this country. There is need in this state for somebody like Herschel. Knowing him, the character that he has, he will make a great United States Senator.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Monday morning, a week and a day away from the real election day. However, early voting is going on this week.
Yes, and if you think that you might not make it to, day of voting, vote early. We saw what happened in Arizona. So just make sure that you have enough time to vote no matter what happens on election day.
Aren't they doing some research into what happened in Maricopa County because all of a sudden, when you've got 2 years to prepare for an election and you have, and it's like 20% of the voting machines aren't working and they're out of ink and things of that nature, you would think that they would be ready, even in a Republican area.
They were ready, Bill. The two people running that election in Maricopa County actually had a PAC that was running and putting money towards defeating Kari Lake. So I think that might be a conflict of interest, but it could just be me, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, because you sound like a hater.
Yeah.
So there's that. Speaking of haters, how about our friends in China, huh?
Bill, what's going on in China? I mean, we don't see a lot of reporting about this, but they've had a no COVID policy, lockdown policy in China, since 2020. So, it has gotten worse.
And this is like saying that we'll have a no flu policy here.
Yeah, it's just impossible to really get there, right? And
exactly.
I think also we've realized that COVID's going to be here. It's here to stay. We just live with it. Life is pretty much back to normal. We still see some masks and things, but honestly, my life feels fairly normal.
Yeah. Some people still drinking the Kool-Aid. I still go into these the restaurants and other places, and these people are in masks, the employees, that is.
Yeah.
So are they still making you wear that dumb thing?
Yes. If you want to wear one, great. I'm not for it, but they're also finding microparticles in people's lungs because they've been wearing these masks, and it's being absorbed that way. But so there are some consequences to wearing the masks all the time. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're getting some fresh air.
It needs to be a warning label, I'm thinking, on the masks.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have a warning label on hot coffee, so you'd think that they'd put a warning label on.
One would think, yes.
But going back to our friends in China, here's the thing. It's the CCP. The Chinese people are actually wonderful. But the CCP so what brought up about this, actually, maybe we should take a look at the video and you can kind of see people in China.
This is what's going on over there, from the CCP, that's Communist Chinese Party, in case you were wondering.
And this is in Tiananmen Square, which is a historical site in China because there was some mass murder that happened there in, I believe, 1989.
And if you ask these people today, most of whom weren't alive then, about Tiananmen Square because CBS actually accidentally ran across a real journalism article story some years back when they actually went and showed 19 and 20-year-olds anniversary pictures of Tiananmen Square, and they were looking around and said, "Where's this?"
Oh my goodness!
Said, "It was here." Well, of course, the CCP didn't want their citizens to know that. This is where they had the tanks come out, and the people stood there in defiance of the tanks, and some of them got run over by the tanks. And it was but it was a display of their wanting democracy and independence. And here they're locking people down in their homes and in apartment buildings.
They're welding the door shut. I mean,
10
that's
people
ridiculous.
just died in an apartment fire or condominium fire over there because the firemen couldn't get in because some of the doors were welded shut to keep people from going out.
Yeah, and there's no warning when they do this, Bill. And so if you don't have enough food in your house, I mean, you could definitely starve to death as well. So what they're doing to the Chinese people is just, I mean, it's atrocious.
Well, and to show the courage that they have now, because, I mean, what they were doing there, is a death sentence. Going out and they were calling for the guy who's just been elected president for life, Xi Jinping, asking for his resignation, and so that's considered treason in China, as opposed here when we say it. Well, maybe now it is, but I mean, we're talking signing your death warrant to say something like this, and these people are out there doing this. And by the way, we're getting ready to play Iran in that World Soccer match, and of course I enjoy soccer so much, almost as much as watching paint dry, but at the same time, we're going to be playing, but they are defying. They're having big protests in Iran, and we've got, they were playing their national anthem, and instead of taking a knee like a Colin Cooper pupper, they refused to sing the national anthem, and that could be a death sentence for them as well. So these people are, there are a lot of people that are out there wanted to protect their precious democracy, or at least get one. And it is pathetic what we're seeing. But you can just imagine that, and of course when President Biden was talking with Xi Jinping, he didn't even mention COVID or anything of that nature, the Wuhan virus. And thank God we got Anthony Fauci stepping down.
Yeah, well, not before he steps out into the public again and starts talking about how
more lockdowns.
Yeah, wear your masks and wash your hands, and we're going to have a COVID spike. And I mean, Anthony Fauci has done more damage to this country than any other person. And there's no accountability. And it's interesting how he can't remember a lot of things all of a sudden. It's like he has dementia. It's very strange.
It is. These people seem to have the batteries in their irony meter need to be recharged because they forget the fact. We do have videotape of this. We do have records of them saying that we don't need masks. Then all of a sudden needed a mask. No, maybe you need 2 masks.
Well, I think also
over and over.
Well, that's the thing, Bill. I think when you have the media on your side, you can suppress anything you want.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say the Twitter game, I think that's going to change a lot of things because you're going to have Twitter allowing a lot of this free speech to happen. And you are going to see Facebook and Instagram and all these other that are suppressing it, that it really will impact them, especially if Elon Musk said if they take him off of the cell phones, he'll just build his own. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he has the money, he has the backing, and he will do it. So I think that he is playing a really interesting game right now with a lot of, these other social media companies. And he's also, I heard, that trying to work something out with Rumble to where he will have that video aspect built into Twitter. Don't know what that's going to look like, but that's what's in the rumor mill. And I think that will really change the game for a lot of people. I thought a lot of people were going to leave Twitter. Unfortunately, I still see a lot of these awful people on there.
Well, free speech is free speech.
Yep.
I'm sorry, whether you like it or not. That's free speech is not to protect you from being offended. Free speech is to protect free speech, and you can say what you want. And if you don't stand up for the people who actually are diametrically opposed to you, then sooner or later they're going to shut you down.
Well, I also think that. I just think it's interesting when they throw their tantrums and say, well, I'm leaving Twitter. And it's, I mean, CBS, they lasted less than 2 days. So I think it's really interesting that
they were back on just for monitoring purposes.
Right.
To
They were
make
just
sure
checking
that
things out.
Things were going along. And by the way, CBS News has just announced that they've done some research now. Donald Trump did not have anything to do with the sinking of the Titanic. I didn't know if
wow.
you'd heard. Yeah, so just in case you didn't know.
I wasn't aware.
Well, there you go. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So, anyways, with Twitter, there's also a lot of advertisers that are threatening to pull their advertising. American Express being one of them. There was a long list, but that was the one that stood out to me. And I think it's interesting that there's all of these threats going on, and it seems like people are tone deaf because, you know, when it came to the airlines, when it came to, you know, all of these different policies, people were not supporting it, and yet they still went against what people wanted. So it's all about what the corporate elites want in this country. It's not about consumers or what the American people want, which I think is interesting. Oh, well, they just let their CEO go.
Yeah, and brought back the old one who started all this woke crap to begin with. Walt is spinning like a lathe in his grave because he would be appalled at what Disney has turned into. He was a great anti-communist. He went before Congress on numerous occasions trying to warn them about all the communist takeover and the socialism and communism that was taking over in Hollywood, and it fell on deaf ears. Walt Disney was a great pioneer. He loved God, he loved children, and what they're doing with his corporation now is just it is anti-American. And to see what's happened to Disney, and what gets me is how these going along with all of this so-called wokeness is how they are, Brittany, is how they are going against what their base. Disney built this whole thing on children. We're not going to say ladies and gentlemen or boys and girls anymore, or any of that stuff, and what their pronouns are and things of that nature. This is totally opposed to what most Americans want, and that's the reason the Disney stock has dropped like a stone in free fall. It's another reason that people are going to the parks, and they're talking about laying people off. And we have, and Coca-Cola has done the same thing. And Delta Airlines, I understand that they asked Boeing if they could have their planes now made with 2 left wings. I didn't know if you knew about that or not.
No.
So I mean, just
are you being serious, or is that satire?
It's because of these woke policies of how they were going to go along with all of this gender neutral stuff and all of the other. So in the NFL, totally abandoning their base by going that they were trying to get back in our good graces. However, we'll show you a bit this later, maybe later in the week. But there was a great halftime show that they did with the Minnesota Vikings over the weekend, and we'll get to that coming up later this week.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be a nice positive story for us to report on, and we will have to report on that maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll see you then.
Thanks for tuning in.